Wonderful. Okay. I want to welcome everybody to the Resident and Family Support Council meeting. We host these meetings on the second and the fourth Tuesday of every month at 3 o'clock. And know that the link that took you to get to this meeting is the same link that will take you to get to every single meeting that we have. So keep that meeting link safe and make sure that you can access it at 3 o'clock on the second and the fourth Tuesdays of every month. These meetings are meant to help empower people with information. We want to make sure that as long-term care ombudsmen, that we really are finding out from people what they need, what they want, what they deserve, and that we give information on how to make sure that those things happen. So one of the things that we decided to start doing this year was to bring residents into the conversation. So today we are down in Southern Illinois area in PSA 10, and we've got Cindy and Ashley together, who brought some residents together in one of the nursing homes that they work with as ombudsmen. And Ashley, do you want to share with us what counties do you work with in your area?
We would cover Richland, Lawrence, Crawford, Jasper, Wayne, White, Hamilton, and Wabash.
Okay, there we go. So if you live in any of those counties, these are the people that are going to be helping you. Ashley is the regional ombudsman, and Cindy is the community ombudsman for that area. So thank you guys so much for coming together in this long-term care community. And what I'd like to do right now is let me start by introducing myself, and then we'll go ahead and we'll have the residents that have gathered together here today introduce themselves. So my name is Lee Moriarty, and I'm the Deputy State Long-Term Care Ombudsman, and I'm the one who typically hosts these meetings. We've got Stephen Maxwell in the background, who's putting all the links into the chat for everybody to be able to follow. And then how about we got Doris over there in the corner. Doris, do you want to go ahead and start with introducing who you are and how long you've lived in this community that you're living in?
I've been here 8 years, and I lost my husband after 2.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Doris. Very sorry to hear that, but welcome today. I'm glad you decided that you could join us.
Thank you.
Daniel? Would you like to introduce yourself, Daniel?
How long have you been here, Daniel?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years. Okay. Wonderful. Well, it's nice to meet you, Daniel. How about we've got Ina? I think Ina's in the back of the room. Can we see Ina back there? Ina, did you want to say hello?
5 years.
Hi, Ina.
She's been here for 5 months.
Okay, well, welcome, Ina. It's wonderful to have you be a part of our meeting today. And then we've got over there, we've got June. I think June is in the pretty blue shirt. Hey, June.
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay, great. We're going to get some wonderful perspectives here. Love it. And then Diane, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Diane Parrott. I've been here for 8 years.
8 years. Okay, wow. Okay, wonderful. And then over to the side, I believe we've got Scott over there.
Yes. Name's Scott, and I've been here on and off for about a year.
About a year.
Okay, welcome, Scott. Nice to meet you. And then how about Stan? Is Stan back there?
Over 10 years.
10 years, Stan? Is that how long you said you've lived there?
Over 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. I'm going to ask you some questions. And then we've got Reginald. How about Reginald?
Reginald Long, and I've been here in like 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay. Well, it's so wonderful to meet all of you guys, and I really look forward to getting your perspectives. So like I said, what we are doing is we're asking residents various questions about life in long-term care, how it looks, how it feels. And one of the things that we're using is it's a tool that's actually called the Artifacts of Culture Change. And this is a tool that long-term care facilities, long-term care communities, homes can use to help inspire them to be more person-directed, as well as assess how well they are doing in regards to providing this person-directed living for people who live in long-term care. And I've taken some of these questions, and I'd like to ask you some of those questions right now. And I hope that's okay with everybody. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So one of the things oh, you know what? I also missed it. We had a couple of family members in the room there, don't we, Ashley?
Yes, uh-huh.
How about could you guys introduce yourselves too in the back of the room?
Connie. Deb.
We got
Yes.
Bev.
What's your name?
Beverly.
Beverly.
Nice to meet you, Beverly.
My mom's been here like 5 or 6 years. I don't remember the exact date.
Okay, okay, wonderful. Well, it's nice to meet you, Beverly.
Don't share.
And then I think we got some sisters back there. Is that Ina's daughters?
Ina's daughters, yes.
And Connie, and is it Debbie?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, it's nice to meet you guys. And please feel like you can interject at any time, because my very first question that I wanted to ask you guys about was about that move in time. When you first moved into the long-term care community. Now, some of you have lived there for quite a while, and some of you haven't. So what I wanted to find out was, how did it feel when you first moved into the long-term care community? I think, June, you might be our newest.
June,
person that lives
you're our newest resident, wouldn't you say?
Nice.
So June, could you tell me how it felt when you moved into this long-term care community?
Did you hear her? She said, can you tell us how it felt when you first moved into the long-term care community?
Oh, I don't know. It was just another move.
Another move?
Another move.
Mhm.
Did they do anything, June, to make you feel welcomed? Did they do anything to make you feel welcomed?
No, nothing out of the way.
No. Nothing.
Okay. How would it have felt for you if staff came in and introduced themselves to you and what they did and who they were and told you a little bit about themselves? Would that make you feel good?
I can't hear.
How would have made you feel if whenever you first moved in, the staff members would have come in and introduced themselves to you and
It'd
maybe
been nice.
gotten to know you a little bit?
That would
have been
very
nice. Okay.
Okay. Would that have made you feel a little bit more welcomed?
Would have made you feel more welcomed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got, I think maybe it's Stan who's lived there the longest. Stan, do you remember back how it felt when you first moved in?
So.
So. So did you feel welcomed, or did you just feel like it was another move?
Welcome.
You felt welcomed.
So what made you feel welcomed, Stan?
Well, the nurses and doctors.
The nurses and the doctors?
The nurses and.
Okay. And then I think, Reginald, since you're right there, I can see your lovely face as well. You've lived there for like in between amount of time, about 2.5 years. How did you feel when you first moved in?
When I first moved here, I didn't, couldn't get along, and if it wasn't for Stacy and if it wasn't for Janet, I would be here. And I was going through a lot of problems when I first moved here, and now since I've been here, I love it. I love it very well because I get along with everybody now.
I love to hear that. That's wonderful. I know moving into a long-term care community can sometimes be a little difficult for people. You don't know what to expect, right?
Yes,
You don't know what it's
right.
going to look like.
Right.
And it can make you feel a little nervous. Am I
Yeah.
right in assuming that?
Yes, ma'am.
I am. Okay. So just to think about that, if people went out of their way a little bit, if they gave you maybe like a welcome packet that gave you information, staff
Mhm.
introduced themselves to you, maybe even gave you a tour, told you where things were, where the dining room is, where the activity room is, where you could find the administrator. Would those types of things help you feel a little bit more connected to this new place that you were calling home?
Yes, ma'am.
That would. I'm interested as well in some of our family members' opinions about this. Beverly, you said that your mother has been there 5 or 6 years.
Uh-huh.
How did it feel for you as a family member to have your mother move into a long-term care community?
I hate it. I don't like to see her in this condition.
Sorry.
She's had falls, she's had breaks, she's had back compression fractures, and I sometimes when she's feeling good, which today might be one of those days, I'm not sure, I haven't been in there enough. She will take everything off of the walls, out of the closet, put it in the trash, put it in wherever, pack it to go home.
And I've heard things like that before from people. You're moving from home. Typically, you go to the hospital and then you might move into a long-term care facility. And it can feel like this is supposed to be the new place where I'm going to be, whether you're going just for a short period of time for therapy or you're going to make it more of a permanent situation. And so one of the practices in the artifacts of culture change is actually creating a welcome for people to live there when people move in, sharing some of the amenities that they might have, whether or not they have a barber on site, where their therapy office is, if there are computer, if they have access to the internet, things like that. Talking about resident council and what resident council is all about,
Talk about getting
sharing an activity calendar. All of those things are what would be considered a best practice for a person-centered care, long-term care community. And so one of the messaging that I think we're hearing today from all of you is that if we did something like that, you might feel more welcomed and more at home and more comfortable when you first came into this environment. Am I assuming that correctly?
Yeah,
Doris, can you comment on that?
Oh, I didn't catch the question. I'm sorry.
Would it be more welcoming would you say it would be a more welcoming feeling if the staff were to take you around and introduce you to people and show you different areas of the building and the facility and things like that?
That
Yeah.
would help.
That would help.
Okay. Okay, so that's a message that I want to make sure that we hear. That doing things maybe just a little bit above and beyond what we're currently doing might be able to make people feel a little bit more at home. And just thinking and talking about home, there are some things I want to find out if this would be important to you or not important to you, okay? Would it be important to you to be able to have access to things like a coffee maker, a microwave, a refrigerator, to be able to make your own food at times? Would that or would that not be an important thing for you? Why don't I start asking? See, how about Diane? Diane, could you ask? Would that be important for you?
Yeah,
Why?
well, give me more freedom.
Freedom. Okay, that's interesting. I like that. What is it something that you would like to use every day? Is it something that you could see being able to get your cup of coffee? What sort of things about that? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Just be able to go and use it whenever I feel like it. So I
Would that
don't
make it
have to
feel
ask.
more like
So
home
you
for
don't
you?
have to ask, so you're not having to wait for somebody to bring you something
Yeah.
and they're busy, so. Mhm.
Okay, okay. And actually, I think from what you just said, not having to ask staff, it might make it a little bit easier for staff too, huh?
Yeah,
Because you wouldn't have to ask them for that cup of
Yeah.
coffee or that cup of tea.
yeah.
Or to heat up that leftover that you had that that you wanted to heat up in the
Yeah.
microwave or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that again, I want to let everybody know that you do have the ability to be able to have access to those types of things. And you can even have a refrigerator in your room if you want a refrigerator in your room. Does anybody have a refrigerator in their room?
I don't.
Nobody in here does.
Nobody does.
No.
How about you, Doris? Would you potentially like to have a refrigerator in your room or not?
Where would I put it?
Okay, so you don't need one. That might not be important to you.
Well, she has no place to put it is her concern. Room, space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Space can be at a maximum, can't it? You don't have a lot of space and you're trying to put a lot of things into a little space, especially when you moved from a home and now you're bringing your items into the smaller space. So that can be concerning as well. Yeah, I get that. Does anyone else have any thoughts or feelings around having those types of things in your home, in this home to be able to have access to? Having access to the coffee maker, a microwave, a refrigerator, things like that. June, how about you? Would you like to have something like that as a person who's lived there the shortest amount of time?
June, is that something that you would think would be nice to have, is your own refrigerator or access to a refrigerator or coffee
Yes,
pot
it
or
would be.
it would be. Yes,
How about a coffee pot?
a coffee pot. That's right. Ask Cindy, I drink 3 or 4
I'm a
cups all
coffee
day.
drinker.
Yeah, and me too.
Have to see.
We'll have to see.
So would you guys feel comfortable in asking the facility to do something like that for you?
Yeah,
Who said yeah?
Reginald says
Yeah.
yes.
They do have.
yes.
You
A
would?
Keurig, don't they?
Time, the coffee pot.
Do they have a Keurig?
No,
No.
well, there is one up by the office.
Right,
Okay.
right.
There's those coffee pots that they get out, but it's usually just at mealtime.
Just at mealtime, yeah.
It's not during the day. They do have coffee pots where the residents can go up and get their own cup of coffee, but
Mhm,
it's at meal times only.
Gotcha.
mhm.
Okay. So Beverly, do you think that there's a need to have something like that more than just at mealtime?
I can see that as a years back before my father passed away 7 years ago. Before that, he had to come here. He couldn't stay in the assisted living that they were in.
Uh-huh.
Mom came with him. They had a refrigerator in their room. We had a coffee pot in there. And mom would go get things and do it and wait on dad. And it was convenient and they did like that. But that's because they brought their own bed and they only had the one bed in the double bedroom. And they had space over to the side where they could put that stuff.
Yeah.
And then when my dad passed away and my mom had to move back over here, because she left after dad passed away and she went to my house.
Okay.
And when she came back, there wasn't room. There's not room.
Okay.
Like 8 by 10 is the biggest,
Mm-hmm.
8 by 8.
I don't know what the
They're
rooms
small.
are.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sam,
and that can be
something?
I'm hearing that space can be an issue, an impairment for not having, not being able to have those types of things in your room. But maybe if they were in a day room, a place where I could even have my, be able to keep my cans of pop if I wanted a soda or something like that might be nice, huh?
And they
How would
use
it make you
a soda
feel?
machine. It's gone.
Yeah, I wonder how it would make you feel. Just talking about the feeling piece, to be able to know that you could get those things whenever you wanted to use those items. If you wanted to use a microwave, if you wanted to use a coffee pot, how would it make you feel?
Make you
Any
feel more
thoughts?
like at home. Make you feel like you were more at home. Yeah.
Would it? It would make you feel more like you're at home. Okay, and guess what? Many of you have lived there for 10 years, 8 years, 2 years, 2 weeks. Right now, this is your home. And that's part of what we're trying to convey at some of the messaging is that it is your home. And that brings me to talking about this dining thing, and I'm curious about some of your dining experiences. How does it feel when you go to have your meals? Do you have any comments to make about what the meal experience looks and feels like? Is it good for you? Is it not good for you? Are there some opportunities that you could see that might be some things to improve that?
Stan says the food's pretty good.
Oh,
And they deliver, when you eat in the dining room, they deliver your meals to you, right? On a
Yeah.
plate.
Right.
So it's kind of like you're sitting down at a restaurant, right?
Right.
And I know Stacy, the administrator, has, she's explained to me that she's got decorations on your tables and tablecloths on your tables. So she really does try to make it an inviting dining experience, would you say, when you eat in the dining room? Do you guys feel that way? Yeah. And she at one time, did she set up a buffet style kind of?
Right.
She tried, and
okay.
that didn't work too well, did it? Yeah.
But you tried something to see if that would work. That's a really cool thing that she's trying
Yes.
to see if different things will work and feel differently for people. Because
Mhm.
that is an option in how you can dine, right? Some people dine more in a buffet style, some people
Yeah.
more bringing your tray to your table. Do you guys eat on trays or do you not eat on trays?
They bring you the food, right? You do not eat on trays, right?
They pass it out.
They passed out the plate, right?
Even
Love it.
in assisted living, they do not have,
Buffet style.
yeah, they don't have buffet. They don't have buffet style either. At least the one here in town does not have buffet style because mom was there.
Okay.
But on the flip side, she was in her own little apartment
Right.
and she had all that other stuff, but she was at a higher living quality than she is now. She's not capable of having
Yeah.
that now.
Yeah. And so you're not eating on trays, which I hear, and that's a really great person-directed living practice, because that's how we do it at home, right? We don't typically eat on a tray at home. I'm wondering, are they using regular plates? Are they using china, glassware, silverware, and not disposable stuff either? Paper plates, things
They
like
don't
that?
use paper products,
No,
right?
no.
You guys get your silverware and your plates and
Right.
cups and good.
Right. Right.
Great. I love that. That's really great. That's some good things to be able to do. And I know that the dining room sometimes can be a really loud place as well. When we're in the dining room, right? I mean, it can get loud with people all being in there. We got a bunch of people, we're serving trays, people are eating, tables clinking, things like that are happening. Do you guys have any issues with noise in the building? Like, I'm curious at nighttime. At nighttime, is it quiet there or does it get louder there? Is it loud?
Very quiet.
What in loud?
Very quiet.
Quiet and then loud.
Very quiet. I like
You like it
very
quiet.
quiet.
Does it
Okay,
depend
so-
on the hall?
The hallway.
Do you
is
think
very
the hallway depends on what hall you're on, if
Yeah.
it's quiet or not?
Indeed, hall.
Reginald, you're on D hall and it's kind
Right.
of a
Right.
quiet
I'm
hall.
right next to him.
So you're quiet.
We're quiet. We're quiet.
Who's on A hall? Anybody on A hall?
I was.
You were? Did they move
Yeah,
you?
they all moved.
You're on B.
Okay.
So is A hall pretty quiet, June?
Yes.
It is. Daniel says no. Is it pretty quiet? Is it pretty loud?
Yeah,
At
it's quiet.
times?
It's quiet.
Okay.
It's very quiet.
Gotcha.
And are we talking about at nighttime? Are people being respectful? I heard one person, was it Scott, who said that it was loud too?
Did you? No, Scott's quiet. He's on the same hall as Reginald.
Okay, got it.
So
Okay.
they're on a pretty quiet
Oh,
hall.
yeah, very quiet.
Yeah. Now, Daniel, you're on B Hall, right?
I am.
And you're right next to the nurses station, right?
Mhm.
Oh,
Originally, I'll be all that I moved me A-hole,
Okay,
then back to B-hole.
back to B Hall. And it's
Mhm.
pretty noisy where you're at now, huh? So up closer to the nurses station, Lee, is where
Okay.
his,
When I used to be with Daniel.
great
I-
observation there,
was-
Daniel. Really good being by that nurses.
it
So,
was
you know,
when
one of,
Daniel was
again,
there Now, and then
I'm
they
sorry, I
moved
think I
me
heard somebody was talking, I
there,
think.
and moved me in D. And but you know, B was all right. And
Reginald's telling us he's lived on all the halls.
uh,
Well, when you've lived there for 2.5 years, you've done some moving, huh?
I done some moving. Yeah, it was moving me.
So, because you know, one of the things that I think is a good observation that Daniel made is about that nurses station. You know, I think sometimes the nurses forget that people are trying to sleep at nighttime, and so we should try to be quieter
Mhm.
when people are trying to sleep. My mother, I know when she was in the hospital, she was in 2 different hospitals in a matter of a month. And one hospital did a dynamite job of being quiet at night, and the other hospital didn't. And it really made a difference with her ability to be able to get a good, comfortable sleep. You know, when people are, even if they're laughing, if staff, you love it that staff are having a good time, but when when that might be too loud for people when they're sleeping. I see that Stephen has his hand raised.
Yeah.
When
Now,
I
they
just
take
really, I
Yes,
just
we
wanted to take
trash
a
out
quick moment to point
from
out
the
the
dining
irony
room,
of a quick moment to point out the irony of saying that a facility did a dynamite job of being quiet.
yeah, right. Because you know what? It takes effort. It
Yes, it
takes
does.
effort to be quiet when people
Mhm.
are sleeping because staff sometimes forget because they're caught in their job of what
Mhm.
it is that they're doing and they forget that people are trying to sleep. So I think another message, do you guys want it to be quiet when you're sleeping?
Yeah.
You guys like it to be quiet?
Oh,
I
you
shut my
quiet,
door.
man.
You shut your door.
You go straight to bed. You go straight to bed when you quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. People
Okay.
don't bother you.
There is
Yeah, I like a quiet, but
one,
my roommate had the TV going all
down
night
here
long.
on D-hole,
Yep. Yeah.
at
Oh,
10
yeah.
o'clock, there
Ten
is no
home.
staff down here. They're
Okay.
all up on that end of the building.
At 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
Okay,
then
so
one thing
that's
I
where,
don't like
that's
about
again.
she
So
just said,
maybe a gentle reminder to
TV be up
remind
real
staff.
loud in other rooms. I turn mine down low. If I feel that it's loud, I'm gonna turn it down low. He'll tell you.
Well, I
And
can
he's
see,
good
I
too.
can see
He's
as
good
far as the nurse, cause there's, after
Right.
10 o'clock, there's only one nurse there.
Right.
But the aides is even up there.
Up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
What did
we
Scott
That's
share?
something we
take down here.
his concern is that staffing on his hall is kind of off on its own, and um staffing tend to migrate towards the other two halls during after 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
So
Got it.
that's something we can definitely address, you know what I mean?
Because, my roommate, he fell twice.
Remember.
And I had to go far up to the other end of the building in the middle of the night to get somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so that's something to be mindful of, right? We want to make sure that staff are being, you know, all over the building so that we can feel comfortable and confident, secure, that if something happens, there's somebody there to help us. Because one of the reasons why I was asking about this noise is I'm curious, do they have overhead paging going on in your building?
Do you
Are
guys
they
have
being used?
overhead paging? Like, do they use a loudspeaker to
No,
call
all I
for?
use is call lights.
They
Call
have
lights.
call lights.
Right. Right.
they will use the loudspeaker, but you many times cannot understand what they're saying.
Right. Right. Right.
Mainly for the nurses.
Right.
So they'll page a nurse
Mhm.
over the intercom.
Mhm.
They'll say like, B-Hall nurse, you have a phone call from the doctor's office or something like that.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so they still
Okay.
utilize the paging system,
The paging system. Because I want to share with you guys another person-directed living practice is to not use the overhead paging system. Because if people are trying to nap during the day, or even if people are confused and hearing that noise, can be very disruptive to people. So that's another person-directed living practice is to not use those at all anymore. And what some buildings have done is they've gotten walkie-talkies for the staff members, to be able to talk to the staff member on the walkie-talkie to tell them that they've got that phone call or that they're needed by another resident in another room or whatever that case may be, which is another practice in regards to person-directed living. Do you feel that that would be something? Can noise be an issue for you?
It's
Have you
usually
ever
a lot
thought
during
about
the
it?
day, not the night.
The evenings are pretty quiet, but during the day it gets hectic.
With the,
Okay.
Is there anything that comes to mind that you would like to see them try to tone out, like noise wise? Is there something you can think of particularly that?
well, I'm on V Week
Mhm.
and all the trash cans
And that's what you were
laundry
saying. The
go down our
barrels.
hallway.
Uh-huh.
And they come down this hallway. Do you ever hear them go out that door?
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
when
they
And
did.
it's
Now,
nighttime, daytime.
I heard the trash.
sounds like a
goes.
freight train,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a lot of noise too.
That's-
When they turn to take the trash,
That's a
that's a
time,
lot of noise. I hear that. I hear that.
that's a time Mom and I try to do devotions.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to shut the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Because
things can get noisy. Things can get noisy during certain times of the day.
Right.
at the, yeah,
That's right.
When they take laundry.
Right.
And I'm wondering with some of that noise, if it's does it feel disruptive to you? Does it make you get any anxiety? Does it make people feel like, oh, I wish it was quieter here right now? It just feels so loud. Does anybody have a reaction along those lines at any time during the course of a day?
Yeah, I've got anxiety real bad.
Scott says he has anxiety pretty bad.
Okay, and does the noise bother you, Scott?
Oh, yeah.
It does. So what type of noises do you guys have chair alarms and the call bells? Are all these things that are going off throughout the course of the day?
Like the personal safety alarms, like if somebody gets out of bed or tries to stand up in their chair and you'll hear a wee, 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 wee. You guys hear that a lot?
Yeah, I did that many times. Fell a couple times and fell out of my
You
bed
have
a couple
heard.
times.
Mhm.
And then now I'm not
they're not
into doing that anymore, like falling no more. And I thank God for that. I stays in my bed, you know, and then I take my medicine and do all that. I went through a lot, you know, in my room.
Yeah.
Doing all that.
So Reginald, I'm hearing, did you say that you yourself had a chair alarm at one point?
You mean by falling and stuff like that?
Did you have an alarm on your chair?
For a minute, and then they found out that it wasn't working. Then they took it off my chair.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
did it bother you when you had it on there? Did it?
Yeah, in a way, yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But I
Yeah.
don't have that problem no more. I don't have that problem.
Well, I can find it ironic when we put a chair alarm on somebody. When we put a chair alarm, when somebody hears an alarm, many times people feel that that alarm means like a fire alarm. I need to leave the space, right? There's a
Right.
fire happening. I need to leave the space. I need to go someplace safe. And so when we
Right.
put a chair alarm on somebody's chair and we're telling them they need to sit back down,
That's
and if
right.
they're confused at all, that gets a little scary because you're like, wait a
Yeah,
minute,
that's
an
right.
alarm means something bad happened.
Happens in the
I want to
dining
get out of here because
The dining
something
room.
bad happened.
room.
So Doris says she notices it a lot in the dining hall, in the dining
Okay.
room. Yeah.
And does it get bothersome sometimes?
I want that person to be safe.
Yeah. So you are concerned for the other individual. So that may give you a sense of anxiety as well, because you're worried about the other individual.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And how about the call lights? I mean, I know we want call lights, right? Because that's how we need to get somebody's attention when we're laying in bed. Do you feel like call lights are going off a lot and you hear ding, 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 or whatever that is? Are they loud call lights or are they just lights themselves?
Just like.
Just lights, aren't they?
They like.
Mhm.
They have-
They up at the nurse's station.
So at the
Mhm.
nurse's station, it gives sound, but you don't
Right.
hear it in your room.
Right, right.
Okay, and then looking at Daniel, who's by the nurse's station. Daniel, do you hear a lot of buzzing going off on those alarms for the call lights? Do you hear that in your room?
You see,
He says no.
Oh,
see,
good. Then they have the volume set well for it. That's good. Because I know that that can be a very disturbing thing as well and create a lot of anxiety in people and make people not feel very comfortable with where it is that they are, where they're at. I just want to talk a little bit about being outside as well. Can you guys get outside whenever you want to go outside?
No.
Are you guys allowed to go out? Let's say it's a gorgeous day out and you want to go outside and just get some fresh air. Do they let you guys go outside?
Someone has to be with us.
Yeah. Sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Oh, sweetheart.
And what did Daniel share with us, Ashley?
They can't talk.
Yeah. So Stan says that he can go out if he wants to smoke, but oh, you have to ask for permission to go out and
Not
smoke
smoking.
even. Yeah.
Yeah, we
You have to
can't
ask
go out
permission
by
to go
ourselves.
outside even if you don't want to smoke?
As far as I know, I'm the only one that's allowed to go out by myself.
So,
Need to smoke.
okay. So
We only have 3 areas where we can go.
they have 3 areas they can go out to
I
smoke
suppose
or to go outside.
We don't do it very often because that's the transfer. Arch wing. We have this one and we have the one off the dining room.
The
And this
exit.
one is very hard to get out of. So you have to have help to get out here.
Mhm.
But someone in a wheelchair can go out the dining room one, but of course, a staff member.
But they
has to be-
require a staff member to be with you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't go out there by yourself.
By ourselves.
Do what?
That one time we could go out. when
At
we
one
were down
time you could go out by yourself.
south. We had a lady that got out and went around front and almost got hit by a vehicle.
Oh my God.
And that's the reason they don't want nobody to go out by themselves now.
So the facility says that it's a safety concern because at one time they were allowed to go outside. They had a resident get into traffic and almost got hit. So now they've put this rule in place for safety concerns.
Okay, and how does that feel?
Feels right.
It feels right? Who said that, Reginald?
No, that's somebody on the video chat.
Oh, somebody said that. Oh, Jeff, you said that. Oh, okay. So Jeff, explain that, Jeff. Go ahead, explain that to me.
I am much luckier. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you great.
I thought I was muted.
Nope.
I'm sorry. I would not have said that if I didn't know I was unmuted.
Jeff, you know what? That's what this meeting is about. Share your opinion. That's wonderful.
I live up near O'Hare Airport. I've been here for a couple of years. My wife is on the Alzheimer's arc. We do not live together after 50 years. And listening to these poor folk, I feel blessed. I can go and do what I want to do. I have 3 rooms that I live in. They're probably 800 square each. And your conversation earlier about heating facilities for food and refrigerators, I'm sorry, I feel many of the people that live in this building should not have them, and they don't. I have a microwave, I have a refrigerator, and I have a sink. And
Okay.
that's all. All the rest of my meals are taken in a restaurant or a cafe.
So Jeff, can I ask you, do you live in a independent living or assisted living?
I live in a facility that has all three. We even have
Okay.
nursing, but I live in the independent wing. My wife and I lived in the independent wing together until, I don't know, about 7 or 8 months ago, when the decision was made that I just wasn't able to afford her the help and the care that she needed.
I'm sure that was a tough decision for you, Jeff, as well.
It
I'm
was
sure that
absolutely
was very,
awful.
yes.
50 years of marriage.
That's so hard. That's so hard. And it's never going to be easy. I mean, you lived together for so long and she's somebody obviously that you love deeply. So did she move to the assisted living then, or did she move to the skilled portion?
She moved into what's called memory care. It is a locked facility. She wears a wandering, uh, I think they call it a bracelet.
A wander guard, they might call it.
Even if, yes, wander guard, even if she could get out the door, which is locked, it would set off an alarm.
Uh-huh.
She's having a bad time with it. I'm having a bad time with it.
Yeah.
It is not easy, but
It isn't. And what we're really trying, and that's the piece. It's like everything we're talking about here has to be person-centered. What might be right for one might not be right for another, just
Sure.
like in the real world, right? So for your wife, it might not be right for her to be able to have, it might not be something that would be beneficial for her to be able to go outside whenever she wants to go outside if there's a busy street in front of her. If
True.
she is having some cognitive issues, and if you could take her out, it would be much better. For somebody else who's independent, like for you, Jeff, you can go outside anytime you want to go outside
Yep.
without anybody being there.
Yes.
And that's what it is. That's what all of this stuff is taking a look and seeing how can we do it with the least amount of restrictions for somebody so they can optimize at their highest practical social psychosocial level. That's what this is all about.
Where are these people located?
They're located down in Southern Illinois and they're in a skilled nursing facility. So they're skilled in a nursing home. So it is a little different. They had that medical need that brought them there. So that's part of the issue. And I don't want to be speaking for everybody there in the room. But that's the reason why most people will move into a nursing home as opposed to an
Sure.
assisted living, because they don't have as much medical needs.
Yes. As I say, I feel blessed being
Yes.
where I am, listening to them. I feel blessed.
And
We don't
and
have
you know
any
what?
noise.
And I think that's part of what the awareness here that I'm trying to get to as well. We don't know what we don't know. So when we move into a long-term care community, we feel sometimes that we've got to go along with the institutional environment of it, that I lose my voice, that I no longer can have access to a coffee pot if I want to have coffee. I no longer can have access to a refrigerator if I want a refrigerator. But knowing that if you do want these things, you can. You can have that stuff. And that's what we want to make sure that people are
Yeah.
aware of by having these conversations on our second Thursdays of the month, and it's to see how it feels.
See, I wouldn't have moved into one of these facilities without all of that. But I live in a much different world than they do. It's costing me $12,500 a month to keep my wife.
Yeah. And
Uh,
not everybody has that social economic level to be able to do
Exactly.
something like that. And
exactly.
that is part of what this is. But everybody deserves the same thing.
I agree.
It shouldn't have anything to do with your social economical level.
And
So everybody should deserve to have that same thing. So I want to make sure, that as we're looking at some of these things, that we are really trying to be very cognizant, and awareful that these are things that can happen. So when I heard about that going outside, and I think it was you, Diane, who said that not all places, it's not easy to get outside. Some of them, there's barriers to getting outside. It's hard to get, you're in a wheelchair, it looks like. Am I correct, Diane?
Yeah,
So you can't navigate outside on your own because of that? Is that what I heard?
yeah,
So that's something that really should be looked at, isn't it? Wouldn't you like to be able to get outside on your own?
yeah.
And you are empowered to be able to ask for stuff like that. Be able to say, can't we do something here so I can get outside on my own? I want to go into that space. I want to be able to go outside. And I don't know, does anyone else feel that way? Doris, how about you? Have you have any issues with being able to go inside or outside?
I'm very wobbly on my walk. And I can't maneuver some of these steps. There's a step down here and then the slope. The slope, both of them get me. I'm afraid I'll fall.
If you could have assistance to get out there, though,
Yeah.
you would appreciate just being able to sit out there and enjoy the outdoor.
Very much,
Yes.
And so that right now currently is a barrier for you because
yes.
you can't do it on your own. And I'm curious, Doris, have you ever thought about asking, do you ask for help to be able to go outside? Or have you ever thought about asking about them doing something to correct it or to provide some adaptation so that you can get outside?
Usually I can't find anybody to go with. That's
Okay,
the biggest barrier.
yeah, I
And
could,
I know I wouldn't fall. And there's what do I want to
A
call it?
gazebo, kind of.
Gazebo there. And one out the dining room. But as I said, they have the barriers, the
The
door jam.
the unsafe. Yeah.
Yes.
So the fact that you recognize that and you're aware of needing assistance, you know.
yeah, and that's interesting. And Doris, I would encourage, if this is something that's important to you, that you ask for that to be able to better access this so that you can get to that on your own. I know I'm a person myself who likes to be outside. We had those couple of nice days in the Chicagoland area, and I was outside. I was sitting outside on my patio just because I needed to get that sun on my skin, that wind in my hair. It just feels good for me to have that. It feels refreshing for me. And you're talking about those safety issue things. And I'm just curious how it feels in your rooms as well, because Doris, you're also the one who talked about not having room for a refrigerator in your room. And I'm wondering do you feel kind of claustrophobic? How do you feel about your living space?
And when they close the curtain, I'm claustrophobic. I feel like I'm in a box without an opening. I'm next to the window, and my roommate is on just the other side of the curtain. But I don't feel too bad. But it was a very big change from a 3-bedroom home down to this small room.
Right.
That's the thing. I mean, you have a house, you have an apartment, you have, even if you lived in a studio, you had more space than you do when you move into a nursing home.
Yeah.
And then you do have the right to be able to bring your personal belongings, but you've got to be very limiting because otherwise you're not going to have any space to be able to navigate in there. And that has to also, you have to be able to navigate in that space. So then that limits your ability to be able to have things that you want in your room. So that could create all sorts of issues here, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and so just to know, that you, I would like for you to be able to get outside if you can get outside there, Doris, if that's something it is that you want to be able to have.
Yes.
So
One time we had a horse. Done twice, wasn't it? That they brought a horse out here, and they took us all out.
3 times.
3 times. And they gave us all apples, and we fed the horse.
Oh.
Apples
And-
and carrots.
Yeah, and it was wonderful. But since COVID, none of that has happened.
Okay. So you want to be able to do more things like that. And you know,
Some outdoor activities.
Mhm.
Yeah, they'll have balloon fights, balloon fights out,
oh,
hours.
Popsicle, stuff like.
that sounds like a lot of fun. And have you thought about asking for that, Doris?
No,
You can bring it up to Betty, your activity director. and-
she directs that,
Yeah.
but she has other things also, that she can't always do those things for us.
Yeah.
But it's your home, Doris. And sometimes staff plan their activity calendars based on what they think you want, not about what you want. And so if you tell them what you want, it makes their jobs a lot easier too, because now they know, you know what, let's get some popsicles and go sit outside on that first nice spring day when we can do that. Let's
We
see
really
about
need-
getting a horse here, because that sounds like a lot of fun. Being able to feed a horse. I haven't been around a horse in ages, and I'd love to be around a horse.
We really need more CNAs.
And
I don't know whether they really need the PAs, but the CNAs, we need more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, but staffing cannot be a barrier to getting what it is that you need, want, and deserve. Know that. They have to figure out ways to do these things because that's their responsibility. That's the task they took on when they decided to have this building be a nursing home. So I know that we hear that a lot. We don't have the staffing to do these things. We got to figure it out. Sometimes it could be another resident. Sometimes it could be a family member. Start creating a volunteer program. Try to figure out other ways to be able to get outside. You know, so those are the types of things that I just want to encourage. It was really wonderful talking with all of you today. I really, truly appreciate it. I'm curious if anybody on this call, that like Jeff interjected, if anybody else has any questions, any comments, any concerns,
Well, I
I
think
would
I do the
love
best I
for you to
can.
unmute yourself. Did somebody say something? Reginald, did you say something?
No, ma'am.
Stan says that he thinks the facility does the best they can.
Okay, and you know what? I hear that. That's wonderful that they do the best they can. But you know what, Stan? I'm going to say that you deserve better than that. Not just the best people can do. I want you to have the most
right.
amazing life that you deserve to have, Stan. And I want you to feel confident and comfortable in asking for things that it is that you want and helping to problem solve it with the home so that you can get those things to happen for you. And think about some of that stuff. What do you have? What are you missing from your lives, from your previous life when you lived at home or you lived in a more independent manner? Jeff, do you have a question?
I sure do. I agree with what you're saying, and I'm sure these wonderful folks next to you do. I have two questions. Is there really a Mrs. Perkins on this Zoom call? My last name is Perkins.
Oh, Miss Perkins.
Is
You
there
might
a
want
Miss
to
Perkins
unmute.
down there?
I see a Miss Perkins. Miss Perkins, if you want to communicate back, feel free. She doesn't communicate back, she doesn't have to.
Okay, the real question is, how
Okay.
do we do what you're espousing? We've tried to form a resident council and we've been told we can't. We've thought about creating something called something else, a resident group, so they can't stop us.
Uh-huh.
We've met with the ombudsman for this area, and it's no help at all.
Well, Jeff, let me explain the reason. If you live in independent living,
Yep.
we don't work with people that live in independent living. We're not allowed to. We could work with your wife's in assisted living, which is memory care, I'm assuming is the assisted living memory care. And we could work with people that live in long-term care, in nursing homes, and in supportive living and things like that. But we can't work with people that live in independent living. But still, Jeff, you are a human being that lives in basically independent living is an apartment complex kind of a thing, right? You can start your own group, gather people together. Nobody can stop you from doing that because you're a citizen of the United States. You can do it.
I understand the freedom.
Yep.
The problem is the retribution. And if we're not gonna get some help from people like you, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah, I can hear that in I can hear that, and I can understand that. And that does become this barrier about independent living. And it can be, there is no oversight entity for independent living.
Okay,
And that's a problem for people when they want to take action and they want support, because there is no entity to provide that.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jeff. And did you see in the chat, Miss Perkins says she's real. She says, I'm real.
I'll go to chat. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, yes.
About having volunteers help us. They would have to have some training.
Yes, volunteers, absolutely. Volunteers can have training. We have a volunteer ombudsman program, and that's what I was doing earlier today. I was training staff ombudsman and volunteer ombudsman on how to do this work. So that's one of the things I was doing this morning, and it was amazing. We have some amazing new ombudsmen that are going to be entering into our long-term care communities in Illinois. So I hope that they get welcomed very well and that you guys feel confident and comfortable in sharing information with them. I do see in the chat that we had somebody comment that some facilities are getting rid of room fridges. And so I have heard that. I've experienced that myself in the past. People still have the right to them. Room fridges can be complicated for a nursing home because they got to keep track of the temperatures in those refrigerators. And if they've got to keep track of those temperatures, because that's all life safety issues, that's what they refer to that as. So it can be an issue, but you still have that right. If you want a refrigerator in your room, you get to have that. But staff may have to help you, reminding you can't keep spoiled food in there. Sometimes people want to keep milk that might have been 6 months old. They've got to, they want to make sure that you don't get sick drinking this stuff. So they may try to assist you. And then also, but if you want that 6-month-old milk, you get to keep it. Just to know that as well. But it is your right. It is your right to have a refrigerator in your room if you would like to have that. Do you guys have some other things to share with me? Over there, Ashley?
Anybody have anything else? No?
No.
Nope, not at this time.
I want to thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, guys. Really, really, really appreciate you joining me in this conversation. I hope that it was inspiring for you as well to think maybe how can life be a little bit more pleasing for me as that person who lives in this community. And I hear that you got a great community. You like where you live. That's wonderful. But let's get it to a place where you really feel that you're empowered, that you can have the life that it is that you want, get outside when you want, get to that cup of coffee when you want, and all of those things. With that, what I'm just going to do right now is I am going to stop the recording. It's going to take me a minute to get there. I'm going to stop the recording.